Hi, I'm Peter Knight. I want to talk today about you being able to hit the longest drives you can. There's a number of things that are relevant to that. One is set up, and I've already done a video on how you can best set yourself up to hit your driver. But I want to talk about three elements today. The first is the path that the club swings on through impact. That's going to affect the flight of the ball, the possible shape, and it also has a bit of an effect on the effective loft on the club. That's the first thing. The second thing, and probably the most important thing for a starting point, is where the ball struck on the club face, or which part of the club face meets the ball. Ideally, it's in the center. If we're anything off center, even by, say, half a centimeter or half an inch, which is a little bit longer, it makes a massive difference to the distance the ball's going to be struck. And the third thing is we want to strike the ball with a slight ascending blow. Now, not every good player does that, but it certainly gives us a bit of an advantage. So I'll talk through those three things and why they're so important. So if we start with the second thing I mentioned actually, which is the centeredness of contact. Now, one way that I can check that is either by putting a chalk mark or a whiteboard marker on the back of the ball, and then when I strike it, it's going to leave a mark on the club face. The other way is to get some light powder or even a powder spray and put it on the club face, and when I strike the ball, it's going to leave a mark somewhere on the club face. So that can give me an indication of where the ball is being struck. Now, if the ball is not being struck out of the middle of the club face, could be any number of reasons for that. Some are just your perception of where the ball is in space compared to you. It's a little bit like learning to catch. If I tossed a ball to you, you'd probably put your hand out, you'd know where your hand needed to be in space, and you'd also know the time that you needed to close your fingers so the ball doesn't come out. Golf's a little bit like that, in that when I swing the club, getting that club face to travel the distance that it will and meet the ball close to the center takes a bit of hand and eye coordination, and a lot of that is due to experience. Now, things like club length can influence the centeredness of contact. If the club's either a little bit too long or a little bit too short, it can influence the ball to be struck out of the toe or the center. And often the theoretical difference is not actually what happens in practice. So that can take a bit of experimentation. You can do that with your coach or with a club fitter. So getting centered contact's important and critical. It's also the difference between those shots feeling fantastic and not feeling so great, even if they happen to go straight or reasonably straight. The second thing is my swing path. So when the club swings back and through, I want the club to swing through on a path that it's an arced path, but it feels to me that when the club first meets the ball, the club is traveling a little bit to the right of the target. So we might sort of think of that as an in to out swing or in to out impact. So as the club swings back and through, sort of looking from down the line, ideally as the club approaches the ball, imagine I've got a laser light shining out the bottom of the shaft of the club, and it is going to trace a line along my target line as I swing through. So if I'm swinging through, say with an out to in impact, then a laser's pointed well beyond my target line, and now it's pointed across to the left of it. An exaggeratedly opposite swing would have the laser line pointed toward the ground inside my target line, and then pointed to it on the other side of my target line after impact. Ideally, it's going to be pretty close to pointing onto it. But if I'm going to err with my driver, then I would actually have it slightly exaggeratedly to the right of the target. Now, of course, if some of you hook the ball, you may not like the idea of doing that, and it may actually be that you're already exaggeratedly swinging the club too much on that path. The third thing is actually getting to strike the ball with a slight ascending blow. Now, on the ground here, I've set up a tee just in front of the ball, and what I want to do when I'm hitting this shot is to hit the ball without hitting this front tee here. So if I take this ball off the tee, we can see that the tees are roughly the same height, and I've got this tee around about a foot, around about 30 centimeters in front of the tee that I'm holding. Because when I strike the ball, it's not the bottom of the club that's level with the tee. Ideally, it's going to be the middle of the club face. So that gives me a little bit of room for error there. That's why I put it in front. So when I play the shot, what I'm looking to do, if we put all those three things together, is strike the ball with a slight ascending blow, strike it with a slight in to out swing path, and have my club miss the tee in front. I think that one did all three. Shot shape was pretty straight, maybe a slight right to left draw on it, but my shot shape tends to be reasonably straight anyway, so I'm pretty happy with that. So those three key things, if you practice those, check the face contact, check your path, and also check your angle of attack, which is very, very slightly ascending. And if you can get all three of those right, then you'll certainly be adding distance to your drives, and that's going to make a massive difference to your enjoyment of the game and also the length of the shot you've got for your second shot into each green. And that has scoring improvement capability. Good luck.